On January 29, 2024, the Palestine Red Crescent Society (PRCS) receives an emergency call somewhere from the Gaza City neighborhood of Tel el-Hawa. A couple of dispatchers listen to a terrified 6-year-old girl crying for help while hiding in the car with the lifeless bodies of her family. What follows is a high-intense rescue attempt that subjects to the unbearable tension and escalating despair. The 90-minute Tunisian film is based on the real audio recording that became the heart of the Voice of Hind Rajab. Hey everyone, the Dark Knaik is here. When global conflicts escalate into a war, it is mostly civilians who suffer and pay the heaviest price. Devastating human stories surface in every war, and so it is happening in the ongoing Gaza genocide. By mid-February, at least 75,000 people have died. Most of them are Palestinians. The death of a 6-year-old Palestinian girl, Hind Rajab, drew global attention because of the agonizing hours-long failed rescue attempt after the car of Hind Rajab's family was riddled by firing over 300 bullets. Since the start of 2025, her story has inspired 2 short films and 1 feature film. The Dutch short film Close Your Eyes, Hind, the Jordanian short film Hind Under Siege, and the Tunisian film The Voice of Hind Rajab. The Voice of Hind Rajab centers on the desperate communication between the PRCS, Palestine Red Crescent Society, and the girl trapped in the destroyed car, Hind Rajab. The narrative revolves around 4 office staff members, Omar, Rana, Mahdi, and Nisreen. During all this, the film carefully portrays PRCS' unquestionable attempt to reach her by a strong coordination. It convincingly captures how the dispatchers stress out, gets frustrated, and emotionally exhausts on each other when they collectively fail to rescue. The whole dramatizing is disturbingly real, never feels staged or exaggerated. Omar and Rana's composure while speaking to the terrified child is both courageous and heart-boiling. The moment both realize that everyone in that car were dead, it causes extreme sadness. I was broken when the firing goes intense, and Rana begins reciting verses with Hind. One of the most human moments in the Voice of Hind Rajab comes when Mahdi loses and locks himself in the toilet after stressful hours, and Omar tries to comfort him by asking to play a game on the phone. For me, it was a highly compassionate detail in the middle of chaos. Most of the times, we are badly in need for a source for temporary escapism, and gaming indeed is a booster. A striking commitment to authenticity is that A Voice of Hind Rajab utilizes the actual, verified audio recordings of Hind Rajab's calls to the Palestine Red Crescent Society. The film openly acknowledges using the real recording that warms sentimental value and drives the audience into a dedicated emotional breakdown with time. It was a difficult experience even for me to concentrate and watch the film as a critic as well as an audience. Previously, I have met such trouble of equating both roles when I watched Schindler's List and City of Life and Death. It was profoundly distressing to listen to the bullets fired during the original recording, and when Hind repeatedly pleads that the tank was approaching. In The Voice of Hind Rajab, Omar is the first dispatcher who contacts Hind Rajab and is immediately taken aback by the severity of the situation. And we observe that he drops his frustration on Mahdi and later lashes out at the Red Cross in anger. Omar was trained for such crisis calls, so does his emotional response make him less professional? Not at all. Because at the end of the day, he is human. And anyone in his position would have lost it while speaking to a terrified kid in the middle of the firing. In The Voice of Hind Rajab, the one character the audience may feel infuriated with is definitely Mahdi, the rescue coordinator tasked with securing safe passage for ambulances. He was unwilling to accept Omar's demands. He was unable to build the coordination quickly and also had to wait for the response when a few rescuers were available. Was Mahdi at fault? Not at all. He had to follow the protocol and save as many lives as he could. He cannot risk others' lives in danger for the sake of one. Mahdi appears visibly exhausted and haunted by the loss of previous rescue workers, which fuels his caution. Therefore, he understands through the burden of traumas and experience. Faced with impossible choices, he chooses to stand firmly by the code. Mahdi sees a bigger picture. He knows if he doesn't follow the protocol, more Hind Rajabs will die. And in all honesty, no one was to blame. There was unfortunately no way Hind Rajab could have survived. Due to a universal support for the Palestinians in the ongoing Gaza genocide, any film based on the very conflict and crisis will be mostly assessed and analyzed emotionally. Yes, the Voice of Hind Rajab is impressively crafted. It successfully recreates the whole tension inside the Red Crescent office, and using Hind Rajab's real voice melts the audience. The Voice of Hind Rajab dominated last year's Venice International Film Festival and made a world record for the longest standing ovation at any film festival with 23 minutes. It also secured the Jury Award at the Chicago International Film Festival and has been nominated for the Best International Film for this year's Academy Awards. So, is the film a cinematic masterpiece enough to be considered worthy of the most prominent awards? I'm afraid no, because the film limits itself within the boundary of the Red Crescent office. It avoids exploring the then emotional situation of Hind Rajab's surviving family and relatives who were worried when the car was fired. And most notably, the film doesn't have any graphic detailing of this shocking event. If I make a Hind Rajab film, it will center around the family fleeing from Gaza, but getting destroyed by the tank, and then dramatize the whole circumstances around the girl. If The Voice of Hind Rajab ultimately wins the Oscar, I will be happy only because that achievement will recognize the Palestinian issue onto the stage of the world's most prominent film awards function. The Voice of Hind Rajab is constructed on deeply emotional sentiments. The film supports the pro-Palestinian political tone and agenda more than the cinematic appeal, which means the film's presence in the awards functions are driven more by its political resonance than by cinematic brilliance. The Palestine Red Crescent Society's rescue efforts are portrayed with compelling dramatic intensity. This docudrama is a powerful appeal to humanity. This must be shown in the global political and economic conferences as well as in the universities to spark awareness about the deadly conflict and its devastating consequences. Strongly recommended to those who are interested to feel the agony of losing Hind Rajab. Free Palestine.